welcome to another Tonic Craft Kit unboxing video. Today's one is kit number 46 and it is called the Vintage Pop-Up Sentiments. It's a cool kind of really different pop-up mechanism than any other that I have personally seen before. You do actually get instructions in this kit of how to put the main part of the mechanism together, but I will do a construction towards the end of the video for you as well, just in case you find it difficult to follow or you want to know what to do after the instructions end, because they kind of end abruptly, but I will show you the construction at the end of the video. But let's get into this month's kit unboxing. So we have our Nuvo as usual. We also have, you probably noticed, another packet of card blanks. We had one a few kits back, and I think they might have been the same ones actually, the ivory white A2 sized. So this is the kind of standard size that a lot of US crafters make. I do tend to like this kind of size, however I do make mine slightly narrower than an A2 card, because if you're in the UK or you use A6 cards, they are slightly narrower than an A2 card and they are slightly longer, but the cards I like to make are actually narrower than A2 but about the same height as an A2 card, so these are perfect for my favourite size of card. But if you like to make A6 sort of sized cards, then you should easily be able to get on with this size. It'll just be slightly wider and slightly shorter, but you get the envelopes to go with it, so it doesn't really matter that they're a different dimension. But also, if you like to make larger cards, don't forget you can just use this gorgeous cream cardstock, because it is 300 GSM. And you're getting 10 card blanks in there and envelopes as well. So you could use the envelopes for some kind of memory book project, and then you could use the cream card just to die cut elements out of, and it cuts really nicely as well. So whether you like making smaller cards or bigger cards, you can definitely make use of this. Or actually a good idea for it is maybe for somebody who is just sort of getting into crafting and you're making them like a gift with different bits and pieces. A little card or a little pack of cards and envelopes is always great to give to somebody, or even a little child that likes doing finger painting and stuff. You know, they can instantly make up some cards and have the envelopes to go with them, and you could even like stamp one of the sentiments from the kit already on them, like the thank you, and just stamp up all the cards with thank you and then give them to a little child as a gift, and they can add paint and ink and everything all over it, and then the parents have instantly got thank you cards to send out to people, which is quite a nice idea. So that is the first thing in the kit. Then I'll empty out the bag of Nuvo goodies. And this is the second kit with the new packaging. So hopefully everybody who bought last month's kit has been enjoying the new stylish kind of packaging with the white and silver theme. I still haven't used the bag from last month, but I'm thinking this is going to be a nice kind of collaging material maybe to use in an art journal, so I'm going to have to keep this out on my desk so that I remember that I want to use that, and even incorporating the Nuvo Craft Perfect Tonic Studio words into like an art journal or something would be really cool, so definitely going to keep that to use for some sort of collage. So there is one brand new item in here that is not available anywhere else, and there is also an exclusive colour of glitter in here as well, and I think the brand new item might be an exclusive colour as well. So let's show you all the boring bits first, and then I'll get to the exciting bits. So the first thing you're getting is like a staple for anybody's crafting. It is the CRaFTi glue. So this is slightly different to their Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. I think maybe this one has like a slightly higher water content, because it does seem to take longer to dry. But I'm pretty sure I mentioned this glue in a couple of kit videos recently, where I had like flooded the area with a load of glue and put the sequins on. This glue is great for that kind of a project, something that you can definitely sort of leave to dry overnight or something. But it also does work for like the quick grab sort of applications for like putting something 3D together. You'll just have to hold it for a little bit longer than you would with the Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. But I do think this is a fabulous addition to anybody's craft room, because you never know when you need glue, and it's also a nice one to if you've got like a small child crafting with you, and they're not using up your expensive Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, but it still works as a lovely glue. So this is the CRaFTi glue, and it's 60 millilitres, which is a really decent size. And it has a lovely precision nozzle on it as well. So it's got like a nice fine nozzle. I don't know if it's finer than the Deluxe. It might be finer than the Deluxe adhesive actually. Let me have a look. It is actually a slightly finer. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell that on the camera. But it's a slightly finer gauged hole for the CRaFTi glue, which is quite nice. So it's a really good precision glue as well. If you're running out, like for example if you've got halfway down the bottle and you're having trouble squeezing it out, I often snip this little tip down a little bit further to make the hole bigger, and because you know you've got less glue in the bottle, I do find that's easier to get it out. Obviously it won't be as precise because you've snipped the hole bigger, but that's a good way of getting more of the glue out of there. Or if you're using it for more like collage-y, sticking three-dimensional things down, you can just unscrew the whole lid off of there and just use like a glue spreader or something to get the rest of the glue out. And while I've got the lid off, it does actually come with a seal on it as well, so don't try to use it straight away because you'll be squeezing for quite some time, because it's actually got a seal on it and you need to take that off before you use it. Another great thing about this glue is the lid. So you'll see inside there's like a little dip of plastic that's got a small hole in the middle, and you just want to make sure that the nozzle goes into that little dip of plastic and it clicks shut. And then that's going to keep it airtight so it shouldn't get clogged. But if it does get clogged, a pin is always great to unclog it. Your craft pick will be too big to get down the hole, but a pin should work nicely if it does get clogged. So that is the next thing we've got in the kit. Then we have also got a Spring Heather Nuvo Hybrid Diamond ink pad. This one came out in one of the original 3 sets. I think it was called Siren, and it came with 2 blue colours. I think that's the set that it came out in, but it's always great to have extra ink pads if you do already have that colour, because they don't make re-inkers, so you know you might have a dried out ink pad, so it's always nice to get a random extra one every now and then. And Spring Heather is a gorgeous, lovely light purple, almost lilac-y kind of a colour as well. It's slightly a pinky sort of a purple rather than a bluey purple, but really, really lovely colour. And the Nuvo hybrid inks are great because the word hybrid suggests that they work well with water-based products and also alcohol or solvent-based products as well. So you don't, if you're using this to stamp with, you then don't have to worry what you want to do next. You can, you know, if you've stamped all over the background, then you decide you want to spray mica mist over it. You know the stamping's not going to budge and merge into everything, which is really nice. And you can also use it to colour with your alcohol pens as well. And actually, if you stamped this colour off and did maybe 2nd or 3rd generation, it might make quite a nice light colour for doing the no-line colouring with your alcohol pens as well. So that's a good thing to note too. And it also matches the cardstock really nicely that we've got in this kit as well, the classic cardstock. So that is the Spring Heather Mini Nuvo Hybrid ink pad. Then we also have a small little pot of embossing powder, and this one is called Soft Lilac. I think this is one of the original colours of embossing powders that came out, so you can get this in a larger pot if you really like the colour of it and you enjoy using it. You can then get a larger pot of it, which is really nice. You get a decent amount in the little pot. I mean, I have used it a couple of times on some of the projects, but you do get enough to use. I mean, if you were doing some kind of background stamp, you could probably get a couple of small backgrounds out of it, or you can do multiple sentiments and stuff with it as well. So it's a decent little sized pot just to try out Nuvo embossing powder, or just to try out this colour as well. And then if you're interested in getting it, you can get a larger one of this colour, which is great. Then we're also getting a full-sized Nuvo drop, and this one is the pale gold colour. Really, really gorgeous, subtle. I guess you could use it for a vintagey kind of feel as well, this pale kind of gold colour. And if you have their pearlescent gold cardstock, you don't actually get a sheet of it in this kit, but their pearlescent gold, I think possibly it's called majestic gold, it goes really nicely with that kind of colour of gold as well. And it's always nice to have different gold Nuvo drops, because you can never seem to have enough different golds, because there's so many different hints or undertones that golds can be. So it's nice to have a good selection of them, so that you've always got a gold to match whatever kind of gold that you're working with as well, which is nice. And obviously this does match some of the papers that we are getting in this month's kit as well. So that is the pale gold Nuvo drop, and it's a full size bottle. This one again was probably in one of the original collections of the Nuvo drops. It's a classic standard kind of colour. So that is that. Then we have an exclusive colour of glitter. I'm pretty sure it's exclusive. I don't know for definite. When I tell you things are exclusive, I don't always know for definite, but I've never seen this colour before. And I think I do have all of the small glitter pots, and I don't have this colour, so that's why I'm saying it's an exclusive colour. But it's called Violet Infusion. It's a really gorgeous colour of purple. A lot of the other purples, I'm just looking at my collection, are more pinky purples, or maybe on the redder side of purple, but this is a lovely bluey purple, so it's quite a cool toned purple, but really pretty, this one. I really liked using this one. It is quite dark compared to the other purples in the kit, but I do think it still goes really nicely, and I think pairing it up with the gold sort of tones it down a little bit as well and makes it work really nicely. So you'll see that in use in my sped up video and in one of the cards that I'll show you later as well. And then the final product that is in this month's kit with the Nuvo is Nuvo Chalk Mousse. And this is a brand new Nuvo product, and we're getting it, I'm pretty sure this is an exclusive colour just to the kit, in the colour Iced Plum. It's really beautiful, lovely pale purple colour. It does come out very pale when you use it. However, I have been experimenting, and you'll see me, I think it was in my sped up video, use a little bit of Spring Heather to tint this to be a slightly darker purple, but you can also put your Nuvo Aquaflows into the chalk mousses and give you a darker tone of colour. And because this is such a light colour, I reckon you probably could turn this into a red or maybe even a blue as well, you know, using different colours of Aquaflow. And just make sure to not use too much Aquaflow, just like a few drops, mix it up, see if it's the colour that you want, and then maybe add another couple of drops. Obviously it depends how much mousse you scooped out to how much colour you add to it, but it's gorgeous, this one. Just by itself it's a really beautiful colour, and it really does have that matte finish, and it's quite it's a different texture to any other matte product that I've seen. It's kind of, it feels a little bit more dry, but not dry that it's drying out, you know. I don't know how to explain it. Maybe more powdery. I guess because it's a chalk mousse, there is some kind of chalky powder mixed into the makeup of it. So it definitely is a chalk finish, and it feels very chalky as well. I was actually using it, brayering it onto the card, and it gives that like textured, chalky kind of a feel. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it if I rub my fingers over the card, but it really does give that that really chalky, matte kind of finish, and you can kind of see that on there, but it's really lovely. I think it's a really great addition to the Nuvo range, and I've really enjoyed using it on the few cards that I have used it on so far. So this is the Iced Plum Chalk Mousse. Really lovely. So hopefully you will enjoy playing with this as well. So that is the last of the Nuvo. Now we can go through the cardstock that we're getting. So we're getting 8 sheets, which is kind of like the standard amount that we get in a Tonic Craft Kit. And again, we've got that gorgeous folder that's now standard with the new packaging. And we have got 2 classic cards. So we've got cream and then mauve purple as well, which have that lovely linen texture on one side, and then they're the smooth version of the colour on the other side. Then we've got the pearlescent cardstock in gleaming lilac, So really lovely, subtle, pearlescent finish. I do really love this one, and it's double-sided, so it's great for any use that you might need a double-sidedness, or for cutting bits and pieces out to go in a shaker card as well. It works really nicely to have a double-sided card. Then we have got an iridescent piece of mirror card, which is the petal pink colour. And it goes perfectly with all of the rest of the colours, because it kind of has this orangey tone within the rainbow, which goes really nicely with the gold. So that is the iridescent mirror card, petal pink. Then we have a speciality card, which is one of their luxury embossed cardstocks, and this is golden mosaic, which has a really lovely dainty design on it. It's almost like a string of beads, kind of, if you put it up this way. It's kind of like strings of beads and they interlock into each other. Really pretty design. And I love this dainty pattern because you can still see the textured detail on a die cut when you've cut it out, which is really lovely. Then we also have another specialty cardstock, which is the Lilac Waves, another of my favourite cardstocks. Really, really pretty. There's also a navy blue version of this, possibly called something Ripple. I'm not sure, maybe it's called Ocean Waves or something, but there's definitely other colour variations of this one. It's really, really pretty. And then we have two cotton papers. The first one is called Warm Dahlia. And I think this one would also be good for the technique that I showed in my last showcase video, where I had put inks onto the cotton papers and then pulled like prints off of them. Works really nicely for that kind of thing. And then we also have a gorgeous light peachy pinky kind of colour. It's almost white, but it's got that peachy pinky hint to it, which is really pretty and goes really nicely with this colour scheme. It blends the purple to the gold really nicely as well. And this one is called Peach Parfait, and it's kind of a random scattering of hearts. There are heart embossed papers that are more of a regimented pattern, but this is a lovely random sort of scattering of hearts all across the background. So those are all of the papers that we're getting in this month's kit. And then I'll move this out of the way. And now we've got the dies, stamps and the sticker in this month's one as well. So we've got Vintage Pop-Up Sentiments as the sticker that you can stick on the front, because like I said in last month's kit video, they're dropping the number and they're just calling them by the names, but I'm still gonna label my videos and everything with the numbers because I find that's just easier to keep track of them. So it is kit number 46, and on my previous folder I have just put like a label down here that says well, obviously kit number 45 and the name of the kit, and I haven't actually stuck my sticker on the other one yet because I get my kits early. I don't always get all of the stickers, and I kind of don't want to stick the stickers on and then have to change it up halfway through because I didn't get a sticker. So I haven't quite stuck my stickers on the front of the folders yet, but I've definitely been labelling them with the kit number and the kit name as well so that I can keep track of them. And let's have a look at the stamps that we're getting this month. So we get some gorgeous sentiments this month. They're quite a chunky kind of design, but they're quite nice and bold if you want to have your sentiment really stand out. They're a nice sort of focal point sentiment, and this is what I was saying about the thank you. With the set of cards and envelopes, you could stamp thank you in the top like third of each of the cards and then give them to somebody else to you know, finger paint and do all sorts of fun stuff onto the cards, and then you've got instant thank you cards as well. So we have You're the Best with some gorgeous swirly vines around it. We've got thank you in a lovely bold font with like swirls coming off of them, and then you've also got for a friend as well. And this for a friend, actually I think it will coordinate with one of the dies that is in the die set as well. I think it can be like the belly band that goes around the actual mechanism piece that I'll show you in a second. So that's really nice that one of them coordinates with the dies. And then this is this month's die set, which you might think, what on earth does that make? Because look at the weird shapes that are in there. But even though they're weird shapes, you can actually make other cards with them as well. And obviously I have done that. So there will be a sped up video of me using all the different bits and pieces to make some other cards that aren't the intended way for the die set to be used as well. Because, you know, I love doing that kind of thing. But you also get the instructions with this month's kit. But it does kind of stop abruptly. It shows you how to cut the pop-up mechanism. It shows you how to assemble the kind of like card base that the mechanism goes inside, how to put the layer underneath it and stuff, but then it kind of just stops there. So in my construction at the end of the video, I will show you how to finish the card off. Because this doesn't really tell you exactly how you're supposed to stick the mechanism into the inside and how you're supposed to add your curved piece that creates the actual sentiment pop-up. It is nice to have the instructions, but I kind of feel like they should have finished off the actual process of how to put the card together. I might just be missing the last sheet of instructions. Maybe there's a second sheet, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll definitely do the construction so that you've got the full set of instructions of how it goes together. Well, how I think it goes together, because I've kind of just, you know, done my own thing, but I think that's how it goes together. So, oh yeah, let's have a look at this sentiment. Yeah, it will fit on that one. So this is the little die that it shows you on the last two steps of the instructions, that you cut two of them and put it together as like the little belly band that holds the little card together with the pop-up mechanism inside, and that for a friend will fit really nicely on there, so you can have for a friend as the outside sentiment as well, which is nice. And obviously you can combine that with thank you for a friend or something as well, or it can just be, you know, a gift for a friend too. So yeah, so let's have a detailed look at all of the dies within this month's kit. So this and this are the main pieces that create your kind of like card base that the pop-up will fit inside of. I think you probably could put this pop-up just inside of a normal card base, but the spine die of this gives you extra room to accommodate for like the thickness of the folded card for this little pop-up mechanism. So I'd probably say if you are going to just use a normal card blank, you might want to add a second score line and try and create this slightly wider spine to your card blank if you wanted to use it that way. But, you know, if you don't want to go to the faff of doing that, you can actually make this kind of card blank sort of piece with this hinge design to actually encompass the pop-up element as well. So those are like the main two pieces to create the place that the pop-up will sit inside of. And then you have this piece here with these two pieces that cut the slits to go in one half of the mechanism, and this is the pop-up mechanism. So this would be the piece that you could put inside another card blank if you fiddled with the fold in the card blank to make it accommodate more thickness. So that is the main like pop-up piece. I will show you all of this in a second as well in my construction. And then this is the actual piece that your sentiment sits on that pops up inside the card. So instead of you trying to wonder what that is supposed to look like, this is the little card that those first two dies I showed you makes. And then you open it up and the sentiment pops up in the centre of the card. And this is that curved piece. And this is the two pieces that I just showed you, these ones. And one of them has the slots in that the curved piece fits inside of. And that's how the little pop-up kind of works. And to me, that kind of looks like a teddy bear. So I brought out these two die sets to kind of show you my ideas. I didn't actually get a chance to make it, but these two die sets are the Bernice and Bradley bunny die set and the Bethany and Bailey bear die set. And I think that you could like have the little teddy bear head from the teddy and put it on here and make it look like a little teddy bear popping up inside the card. I think that would look really sweet as well. You might have to, especially if you were going to use the rabbit, you might have to make this sort of card base thing longer to accommodate for the ears of the bunny rabbit, you know, so it doesn't sort of stick out as you fold it flat. But yeah, I think cutting off the head of one of these and putting that inside would look really cool as well. I just thought I'd mention that. And you'll sort of see as this mechanism closes, I don't know if I can show you easily, but these two parts in here, the two purple parts there, part of the mechanism, they come quite close together. So you have to be a little bit careful about where you're adding your sentiment onto this central pop-up piece. There's kind of two things to consider, which I'll show you again in the construction, but you've kind of got to add it right to the centre of this curved piece, but not taking up too much space. So you've got to think about how much space that's taking up. If you keep closing your mechanism before you stuck the sentiment on, you can kind of see how much space you can get away with, and it kind of depends, you know, how far up and down you're going to stick the oval. So you don't want to stick it halfway down because this part of the oval would be slightly too wide. You kind of want to stick it on that lower third portion of the oval, and then you also want to think about how far down you're sticking it so that these curly pieces won't poke out the edge of the card as well. So there's kind of two things to think about when you're sticking that little sentiment piece in place. But that is like the main bit that it makes, and then you can also make the little band to hold it shut as well, which you could use that stamped sentiment on as well if you want to. So that is like the pop-up part, and then you also have this part for the sentiment to fit on, which you could cut these curly bits off if you wanted it to look a little bit more masculine as well. You don't have to keep those curly bits on. And then you also have the oval and then two different sentiments to go inside the oval for the pop-up sentiment part. So you have on your day, and then you have just to say as well. So kind of generic sort of sentiments that you could expand by sticking another sentiment on the inside of the card as well, or on the outside, to kind of expand the message that you want to send as well. So those are the sentiments. And then you also have decorative pieces. So I showed you earlier, this is the little belly band piece, which you can use the stamp on, but you also have two different decorative pieces that will go into that. One is just a pattern, which I actually used on the back of mine, just to cut that little swirly design into it. And then the other one is the wording, which says "with love," which I used on the front of mine. And I also think you could paper piece this in quite nicely as well if you wanted to. Or you could also snip the little letters out and use the tiny little "with love" on a different project if you wanted to as well. Then we also have decorative pieces to decorate the hinge portion. So we have two different designs to decorate this hinge. Whether you want to use the same on both sides of the hinge or alternate them, both of them are really gorgeous designs. I really enjoyed paper piecing that middle sort of gem shape back in as well. It looks really lovely. But don't think you just have to use these to decorate the hinge. You can actually create a whole card around these elements as well. It looks really lovely. So those are the two sort of hinge decorations. Then you also have these little decorations here, which actually decorate this curved piece. So this piece here, your sentiment is sticking in this centre section, but you also have decorative panels, just solid panels, that will fit on either end of that to fill in the gaps there and give you some extra colour for your project. But you also get decorative designs as well. So if you're going for a more fancy filigree kind of a look, you can actually put in those decorative designs as well. You will have to cut those two dies separately to get the design inside, but you can definitely add those gorgeous decorative details onto there. And then the final sort of decorative piece for the smaller elements of the project is to go on the actual pop-up piece. So one half of this pop-up has the slits in, which is the back half that the curved piece fits in, but you can then use these two dies to decorate the front half of the pop-up piece if you want to, and you will have seen that on the pop-up that I showed you as well. And then finally, the last two dies within this set are this one, which goes inside the pop-up, and the pop-up mechanism fits into these two slits here, and that kind of holds it all in the perfect positions on the inside and gives you a matte and layer on the inside of your little card blank that you can make. And then you also get another decorative piece that will then fit perfectly inside of there, and this one completely cuts out with this gorgeous dainty swirly design. It has a cut edge on the inside and the outside, but again, this doesn't just have to be used within the inside, even though it's got these weird little pokey in bits to go around these two slots, it doesn't have to just be used on the inside of the card. You can definitely use it on the outside and disguise this edge, or you can also snip away parts of this and use it to create a different sort of frame or decorative element on the front of your card as well, which is really nice. So I'm going to go and die cut the pieces that I need to be able to show you the construction, and I'll also come back in a second and show you the other samples that I've got as well. So I think I'll do the construction first, and then I'll show you the other samples that I've done. So I've cut out all the pieces that we need to make one of these vintage pop-ups. So the way they say it in the instructions to make the actual like card blank piece that the mechanism goes inside is that you will need 4 of these, and I've cut 2 in one of the cotton papers to be the outside and then 2 in the cream to be the inside. Then you also need 1 of the spines, which you can obviously decorate with the other dies if you want to. I've just done it plain to save time. Then you also need 2 of these pieces to create the actual pop-up mechanism, and you want to put the slits inside one of them. I find the easiest way to do this is to place the actual main die onto your cardstock, then place the other dies inside, because you can get them perfectly lined up then with the little space all the way around, and then tape it in situ and then run it through, so you'll kind of look like this, and then you'll get the slits in the perfect places as well. So that's how you cut those 2 pieces. Then you'll also need the curved piece. I decided to do 2 because I think it makes it nice and strong if you've got it double-sided, but also you don't forget you can add those little decorative panels onto these bottom 2 pieces, so then that'll make it a little bit stronger as well. And the good thing is the slits are quite wide, so having like double thickness and a decorative layer on it, it's still going to work nicely. It's not going to get stuck because those slits are nice and wide. And then I've also cut a decorative panel or actual matte layer kind of panel to go on the inside that slots around the pop-up mechanism as well. So that will be onto that cream cardstock there. And then I have also cut 2 of this piece with the little curly tops because one, I just think it makes it stronger sticking 2 back to back, and it'll also reinforce these bits if you want to leave them on, but also because the card opens flat, you can actually see the pop-up from both sides, and you know, it's a bit nicer to be able to see that gorgeous cardstock both sides rather than just the white on the back of it. So I've cut 2 of those as well, and for this one I'm going to cut those little curly bits off. So all you want to do is just take a pair of scissors and just follow the curve of the oval and easily snip them off. And there we go. You've just got your plain oval shape rather than more fancy filigree with the 2 little curls on the top as well. So we've got our 2 little ovals for later too. So first thing to do is to score the spine and then put this whole sort of card blank piece together. So I do recommend a card creaser tool or the glide folder as well if you have them, or any sort of bone folder that you've got. Fold one of them first and then reinforce that fold line, and then the second one is slightly more difficult to get to fold, but you can do it. You just sort of roll it in your fingers and it kind of folds on that second score line. If you are having trouble, taking a ruler and trying to like push a ruler in there can help as well. So like just taking a ruler and sort of holding that against the fold line and pressing down can also help get that little channel sort of folded in there as well. So you've now got the tiny little sort of spine piece for the die, and we can also reinforce that side as well by folding that down and then doing the glide folder over it, just to make sure that's a nice sort of straight fold all the way along. Then we want to stick the panels on. So I think I want the pretty cotton paper on the outside. So we want to add adhesive to this, and the way I was doing it before when I made the other one was I just took some red liner tape just to make sure it's really nice and strong, and put one strip of red liner tape down the main portion, not going onto that little channel between the two fold lines, because that is actually not going to be stuck to anything. You'll be able to see it between the two pieces of paper. And then take one off, use a little bit of adhesive to fill in the rest of the areas, like around these sort of lumpy bits of the hinge, just to make sure it's going to stick nicely. And also go back along the red liner tape, because then, especially with the cotton paper, it just makes it easier to move it. And then you can come in close, hopefully you'll be able to see, and we want to take the edge of the paper and line it up with the first score line, and then try and get it straight all the way down. And this hinge is the perfect height for the actual panel, so it makes it really nice and easy. And then we can just press that one into place, and then we want to do the same thing on the other side, and then you should be able to see that there'll be a tiny channel left where nothing is stuck to it, and that's what's creating the extra space in the score line. But if you did want to try and just put it in a normal card blank, you can definitely give that a go, and just try and add a second score line next to the previous or the existing score line of a card blank to give it more space inside. So there we go, we've got those two pieces on there, and you can see there's a little gap in the middle of them. And then to finish off this, we've got that gorgeous spine on the outside, and then to finish it off and to hide sort of like the white back of the paper, we can then add on the cream ones that we cut. And I do recommend going from the outside with these, because that's the edge that you want to look nicer, and then you can bring it towards the middle. And I think for these I'll use some double-sided tape, just normal double-sided. And when you're using double-sided with the cotton handmade papers, it is much easier if you put the double-sided tape onto a sturdier cardstock like the textured card, because if you put it onto the cotton handmade paper, it's really difficult to get the backing off. It kind of just wants to pull the whole bit of tape off of the cotton paper rather than just peel the backing off. So that's a little top tip to know as well. Obviously you can take more time doing this, I'm just trying to do it really quickly so that you're not sitting here for ages of me showing you just the video version of the actual instructions that you get with the kit. But hopefully some of you who find it easier to follow a video will find this useful. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, mostly just on the corners to make sure they stick nicely. And then we can line it up with the outside. And then do the other one. And a little bit of glue on the corners again. And then line this up with the outside again. And there you've got your actual like little card blank that the mechanism is going to go inside of. So now we can actually work on the main mechanism. And all you want to do for this is fold all of these pieces. So I think, yeah, I folded them all towards me. So you want to fold those two towards you, and then fold these two towards you. We will have to fiddle with this mechanism just a little bit to get it all to fold in really nicely before we properly stick it into the inside of the card. At first you kind of think, oh no, I've stuck it in the wrong place and it's not going to quite work, but eventually it does all fold really nicely and smoothly, and the middle portion pops up really nicely as well. You just got to kind of get the folds really settled into the card and everything. So you want to put a little bit of glue on both of these little tiny tabs in the centres of them, and then you want to tuck one underneath and then the other one underneath, and then you're kind of just looking here and lining up these two lines so that they meet in a V, and then pressing that into place so that those little tabs stick underneath. And then that is the first part. And then these portions are going to sort of curve a little bit and stick onto here. So we actually want to fold that glue tab back rather than up. And then these ones are going to stick onto there. And we can just press that so it holds nicely. And then this one as well. And so that is the actual pop-up mechanism. And then your sentiment fits in these two slots here, and the idea is that it will fold up inside your card blank as well to create the little pop-up mechanism. So the way I did it was I stuck this piece onto here, I think, so that it was already... Did I do it like that? Yeah. I stuck this piece onto here so it was already in place to try and make it a little bit easier to get the placement right inside the card. So you just want to add a little bit of glue to the back of this little piece here. And then you want to put it on the opposite side to the slits, because the slits kind of go on the back. And then this bit will be the front. And then you just want to slide that inside, get it a little bit centred, and then press that in place. So you've now got your pop-up mechanism attached to this. So if you were going to put this inside a normal card blank, you would make this piece, and then you should be able to put that inside the card blank as long as you fiddled with the spine to make it accommodate the thickness. So that is like the main mechanism, and it'll fold flat like that inside your card. And then we can actually open the card up, decide which side you want to be the front, open it up, and we can stick this in place on the inside. And you want to do it so that you're centering the mat on the cream card that's on the inside. I think that's the best way of getting this to work really nicely. I'm just going to use glue to stick this down. Obviously you can use the glue from the kit as well. I've just got my Nuvo Deluxe open, so I'm just going to use this. And then we want to centre that on the mat inside, so you've got an even border all the way around the edge. And you can press this down really firmly, and then you can see how this is going to kind of work together. And then once we've added adhesive onto here, this will stick up, and that is how this whole mechanism is going to work. So we can actually take a piece of red liner tape, or a couple of pieces depending how thick your tape is, and we can just add some tape onto here. Remove the backing. And then close your card blank to pick up that piece, and then it should go like this. And you can just keep working it to make it a smooth transition between opening and closing. And then you'll get that little mechanism to work really nicely. So you can close the card and then flip it open, and the card lays flat, and this portion kind of pops up, and this is where the sentiment will sit inside. So to do your sentiment piece, as I said earlier, I was doing two of these together just to make it a little bit stronger, but you could also use a thicker cardstock as well if you wanted to. And then stick those two together on here. And then, placement wise for the sentiment oval, I was finding there is like a little mark on here. I don't know how well you can see it on camera. There's like embossed impressions, and there's sort of like a central section here. So I was sticking it so it's in the centre and then just slightly hangs over the bottom a tiny little bit. And I found that was the perfect placement. So we can do that. I think that's in the centre. Is it upright? Yep. And then I just want to stick the other one on the other side just to make it look nice and neat. Obviously you can add your die cut sentiment onto here, but I'm also thinking that so the reason why you need to use the oval is because when we put this in here, you'll be able to see. So when that mechanism, oh, we're up close, when that mechanism closes, you need that oval to be right in that centre portion so it's not messing with the mechanism, so that the mechanism can still close like this. So, I mean, you might be thinking, I want to use one of these sentiments as my sentiment that pops up, but you wouldn't be able to cut this out and stick that on there because it would be too wide. It's much wider than the oval. So what I'm thinking is you could actually do this mechanism like this with the oval, and then you could stamp and trim out your sentiment just by hand, and then add it on top there, just like that. And that would create a little pop-up sentiment. It's not going to interfere with the mechanism, and you can have your actual sentiment on there as well. So I think that's a great way of using it too. And there's kind of different ways of trimming out these sentiments. This one, I did use my scissors and trimmed, like my small little detail scissors, and trimmed around the curly edges. But this one, I kind of trimmed it into a rectangle and then just cut off the corners at angles, so it's almost like an irregular octagon. And that would go really nicely on there as well, depending on that. Maybe this is a little bit more masculine and that looks a little bit more feminine going around the curly details. So I hope that construction was helpful for you on how to get the little mechanism to work inside your card. And you can see how it folds flat and the mechanism pops up. So that is the vintage sentiment pop-up. And I'll be back in a second to show you all my samples as well that I've done. Okay, so you saw this one earlier with that With Love band that goes around the middle, and then the little pop-up that says Just to Say in the centre of that, and using some of the decorative dies on this portion and on here, and that gorgeous swirly design on the interior of the card as well. So that is what it's meant to do. That's what the die set is designed to do, but obviously I have to use the dies in a completely different way to show you the versatility of the different dies that you're getting in there. So these 4 are all in the same sped up video. I managed to fit 4 into that video. So this one is using portions of the hinge. These little flowers are from a sentiment die that I added in on a different card, so they don't come in the die set. But this gorgeous design here is half of the hinge, and then half of the hinge again with the different patterns on there, and also one cut from white down here. This is one of the sentiment headers that Tonic brought out a few months back, so I'll make sure to link to those below as well. And then I've also, in the background, I braided on some of the ink pad, which is the spring heather, and then I also braided on some of the chalk mousse as well. And it gives a really nice textured effect, and you can hear that sort of chalk matte-ness that it gives as well. And I also watered some down and splattered it in the background. Then I just put those die cuts over the top and used some of the pale gold drops to go in the centre, and it works really nicely with that mosaic cardstock as well, the golden mosaic. So that's the first one. Then another one with a chalk mousse background that I briefly showed earlier. I wanted to get the embossing powder in there somewhere, so I embossed the sentiment on this one, and I actually used the spring heather ink pad to stamp the sentiment and emboss on top. So if you're quick, and because this is a brand new nice and juicy ink pad, you can actually emboss with these inks as well, and use the little tester embossing powder you've got in the kit too. So that is stamping with the spring heather and then putting the soft lilac embossing powder over the top. And then I also had stamped with the spring heather in the background the same sentiment 5 times, and then I used the brayer with the chalk mousse over the top again to give that kind of distressed looking background. And then this is that main decorative piece that goes on the bottom of the pop-up piece, and I snipped it in half here. You can see there's a straight line, which is the 2 halves of the design, and then these 2 halves that are meeting here are the parts that have that little weird indent for the slit that's on the actual piece below it. And so all I did was just sort of rearrange the frame and then hid this section with the sentiment, and it just gives a nice sort of little dainty framed portion that can go on your card as well. And then I finished off with the pale gold Nuvo drops as well. And then this one is where I've used that sentiment, though that's where those flowers came out of. This is one of those mini little sentiments. I've got the packaging here, this one. It's called Simply Love Sentiment. I can't remember how long ago this came out. I don't think it was more than a year ago, so hopefully it'll still be on the website for me to link to it for you. But I thought it worked really nicely with this one. And the background on this one is actually that curly dye, but I used the rubber embossing mat and I embossed the dye into the cardstock first, and then I die cut the detail one over the top and recessed it into the sort of debossed areas, and it kind of gives that puffy quilted sort of a look to the die cut, which I think looks really lovely. Then this is two of the decorative pieces from the hinges. I recessed that like little gem shaped piece back in, and I used the glitter behind these portions, and then I used a mixture of the cardstocks and also some of the glitter on that sentiment as well. And then the final card I did was utilising that curved piece that the pop-up sentiment is supposed to stick to, going with all of the creamy neutral colours of cardstock from the kit and just sort of bringing the whole design together. I was originally planning doing it up this way and kind of make it look a bit like a rainbow, but as I was cutting the panel down and stuff, I thought it looked quite nice going this way, so it's kind of like a scallop design, and then I just used the With Love down there as well. So those are all of the cards that I did. So hopefully you enjoyed this craft kit unboxing video, and you found it helpful seeing the construction of the actual vintage pop-up that this kit makes. I will leave all of the links to the Tonic Craft Kit below the video, and they are affiliate links as well, so if you do click on those links and then purchase the kit or anything else off the website, it doesn't have to be the kit, I will get a small commission at no extra cost to you. And I really do appreciate anybody who has ever and does ever use my links as well. I know I keep saying it a lot, but I really do appreciate it, so thank you for using them. And I hope you enjoyed this unboxing video, and I will see you again in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!